U.S. President Donald Trump's helicopter has touched down on the lawn of the Prime Minister's estate, in the countryside northwest of London. According to Associated Press, Trump then got into his motorcade for a short ride to the house. He waved at reporters waiting outside as he drove by. The leaders will discuss trade and geopolitical issues in bilateral talks, and a news conference is planned for later Thursday.
After Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny died in a prison in Kyiv, in Russia's far north, on February the 16th, 2024, his team managed to secure samples of his biological material and send them abroad to laboratories in 2 Western countries. Tests confirmed that Navalny had been poisoned. His widow, Yulia Navalnaya, announced, "We managed to transfer Alexei's biological materials abroad. Laboratories in 2 different countries conducted examinations. These laboratories, independently of each other, concluded that Alexei was poisoned," she said. According to Navalnaya, the samples were obtained back in February 2024 and were transported abroad securely. She stressed that the findings have public value and should be published. "We all deserve to know the truth." Navalnaya added that she would not be guided by political considerations on this issue. "I state that Vladimir Putin is responsible for the murder of my husband Alexei Navalny. I accuse Russian intelligence services of developing banned chemical and biological weapons. I demand that the laboratories which carried out the tests make the results public. Stop playing nice with Putin for the sake of some greater consideration. You won't be able to appease him. As long as you stay silent, he won't stop," Navalnaya said. Yulia Navalnaya pointed out that prison staff in their testimony described convulsions that could indicate her husband had been poisoned. The forensic report makes no mention of convulsions, but it does note bruises on Navalny's elbows and knees, sustained 30 to 40 minutes before his death, as well as bleeding at the crown of his head. Alexei was convulsing and struck the floor. That's most likely where those marks came from, Yulia said. Navalny's team also highlighted another detail. Video footage from the final days of his life seems not to exist, even though he had been under constant surveillance throughout his imprisonment. On a map of the prison that Yulia Navalnaya showed, 63 cameras are marked in the block where her husband was held, and there is no footage from any of them, she said. She believes those recordings may contain evidence that contradicts the official version of his death.
Russian military personnel disguised as civilians entered Yampol in Donetsk region, which is a violation of international law. The occupiers in civilian clothes are firing from a machine gun. According to the Deep State project, Russians are hiding in houses, basements, cellars, etc. They add that the defense forces are being prevented from destroying the enemy by civilians who have not evacuated the settlement. The enemy has been spotted repeatedly, in particular in the Yampol area. They have found a place to make their way to the village, so we should expect increased activity in the direction of the settlement they are aiming to capture, knowing its importance and criticality for all positions located to the east of it. Active military actions are currently continuing in the village. Later, the 11th Army Corps confirmed that the occupiers had once again grossly violated the norms of international humanitarian law and, in civilian clothes, disguised as civilians, attempted to enter the settlement of Yampol. They noted that individual enemy groups hid in private homes, basements and other structures, using local residents as a human shield. They also added that units of the 11th Army Corps carried out a series of anti-terrorist measures, as a result of which the enemy was detected, blocked and neutralized. At present, the settlement of Yampol and the surrounding areas are under the complete control of the defense forces. The enemy has failed to achieve any tactical results. All of its attempts to conduct reconnaissance and sabotage operations in the settlement have been thwarted. It is worth noting that the enemy is trying to find ways to penetrate in small groups, using natural conditions and the presence of civilian buildings. Monitoring of the situation continues, and measures to counter such actions are being intensified, 11th Army Corps said.